Coffee Talk. I'm Lisa. We have Ginette and Elyse. We meet every Friday to chat about all things spirit and enjoy a cup of coffee and just kind of play off of what's going on right now. And so, thank you for joining us. I apologize if my reception is a little off. If it is, I might come in and out of picture, but I hope to stay here. I am very remote again, and I'm trying to find the best place to get my internet reception, but I'm happy to be here again. So, how's everyone doing?
Good, really good. Getting a lot of
Good.
stuff done today. It feels like to me anyway, is like a snappy day of
Is a snip snap.
organization.
I
So
have to I have to give a shout out to you, Jeanette. I have to. Surprise. It's Jeanette's birthday. It was Jeanette's birthday yesterday, but it's like her whole birthday week. So
um,
big celebration and
thank
happy birthday
you.
to Jeanette.
Thank you.
I think I said happy day of exiting the womb portal onto this 3D land.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy exit
Like,
day.
how
Yeah.
can I say happy birthday in like the most weird, spirity, unique way?
You
Just-
got it. You nailed it.
Did it.
Well, so
Oh man.
we were kind of chatting beforehand about just what we've been experiencing lately, and something that's kind of come up more and more is heading into this summer, this spring, now that there's more sunshine out, how at least I have received some of my messages from spirit is in a non-traditional way, of kind of looking outside of the box and going into Gaia, nature, and receiving the energy that earth produces for my spirit, my soul, for my knowing and my intuition, along with the sun and playfulness and, retreating a little bit, getting outside, doing things that aren't. That are a little bit different. So, not maybe receiving all my messages or channels in a meditation or that way it's more like getting outside and doing different things and receiving some energy from the sun. So that's kind of an intro of what we're going to be talking about a bit, but yeah, what do you guys think?
Elise, you want to go? You pulled some cards.
Yeah, I did. So we were chatting. I was saying before that, for me, I've really noticed I've been very like 3D busy. I have like multiple jobs and they've been very busy, which is great. But I've been very just like in the thick of it, moving forward, thing after thing, kind of like spinning my wheels in May. And I'm going into a quieter period after this week. Work is slowing down. I'm going on vacation and at a very random time for me, actually. I don't think I've ever gone on a vacation in June in my life. So there's kind of all these interesting things. And I felt very disconnected from spirit in the sense of like my own stuff. Normally, as you guys I'm sure know, I go through we go through day to day, and it's like we get little blip snippets, or sometimes we'll tune in or ask what's up, and it's not always like this big production to tune into spirit. But for me, that hasn't been happening. It's been very quiet, and if I want anything in regards to my own situations, I need to like be very intentional, and even still, it's quite like they're not really that chatty with me right now. And so when we were talking about this, I pulled from the Sacred Forest deck. Just and Jeanette also said that I should pull from this after I did. So lots of earth energy with this. But the pull really echoed what we were talking about and what Lisa was mentioning. So I had kind of asked, like, based on, what you're sharing, Lisa, what's the information that we need from this? How do we move through this period of time, especially because Jeanette and I talked a few weeks ago about just how quiet spirit's been and like they're busy doing some stuff. So like, how do we connect in? And so, based on what we were chatting about, the first thing I got was elves, and that's all about playfulness. So like, I'm really shaky, connecting into joy and fun and playfulness, which is exactly what you were talking about. And then the next card is Guardians of the Land and Protection. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a stag over here. And to me, I don't necessarily know if I resonated with the energy of protection per se, but more just about connecting into the energy of Earth, right? And then the third one was Thickets of Thorn, which talks about, and I just realized something else. So it talks about uncertainty. And so we kind of had a conversation about like what uncertainty, maybe the uncertainty of like looking around, where are things going in this world? There's a lot happening. It's as we've been saying for the last 2 years, basically since we started Spirit Coffee Talk, it's been a stressful time on this earth. So there's a lot of uncertainty with that, but also in relation to like what's happening with spirit, what kind of information. A lot of folks timelines are kind of murky right now, and it's like we're not really sure where we're going, or something that felt really aligned flip-flops and all of a sudden it's not aligned anymore, and what happened. So just to kind of get a little more clarification, I pulled this card, which is about leadership, but it's really about stepping into your own leadership. But there's also the stag, right? So that was on the guardians of the land, so really connecting. And you know what, maybe there's some energy or some understanding in the stag spirit specifically that we'll read into a little bit. But then the third one was talking about it's transformation, right? So through all of the uncertainty comes transformation, which is the butterfly, and this one has butterflies on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like there's a lot of that kind of tying in energy that's happening right now.
And you know, it's interesting too, on that transformation card, the butterfly is coming out of a shell, correct?
Yeah, she's on like a seashell.
Yeah, and Spirit keeps showing me the last 2 days a seashell in like vision snippets. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it means yet. I haven't figured it out. So it's interesting that it's there again in the card. So there's something to do with the seashell too, symbolically, and maybe that'll really resonate for some.
Did it have a pearl in it when you?
Yeah, right there.
Because I keep getting the vision of a pearl inside too, like it opening with a pearl.
Okay.
I've got that for like the last three days.
Yeah. Weird.
Neat. Now, we didn't talk about this beforehand. We're gonna have to look into that.
What do we do with that?
So another thing that was kind of coming up, and then Ginette, I want to like get your input on this, but kind of the uncertainty sometimes of this going into a time of less doing and more receiving. I mean, in general, that's really difficult. I think especially for women, it can be difficult too to balance the act of receiving to giving. But I keep getting really strong that we're moving into the next months, that balancing act of receiving, and how it is receiving is, you know, Gaia's touch, spirit's touch through things like light energy is huge. The sun is going to bring you more than just a happy heart. The happy heart comes from this upgrade of consciousness that they're talking about really fueling your cellular structure is the sun and the earth, like she's standing in it.
Yeah, there's a sunbeam on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. So they're like really hit it home, Lisa, like emphasize the importance of the energy received from the sun. And you know, at least when you were saying spirit's been a bit quiet, but you've never really gone on a holiday in June, like Ginette, you were talking about you're going to your cabin, and then you've got some holidays planned on the island. And I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere, on a very remote farm in the middle of Saskatchewan, but the sun is it's endless sky. That's what I have here. It's just endless sky of sun and prairie. And I'm a prairie kid, like that's where I'm from. So for me, it's reconnecting to the land again of like where I came from. And like sometimes the sun energy is so powerful out here, it literally drops me to my knees where I'm like, oh, like I can feel it just like permeating through my whole body. And so what they're really wanting to emphasize is sometimes it's going to take a little bit of trust, that it is more stepping out of the daily routine of doing, and doing even with spirit and guidance and meditation and reflection, and trusting that sometimes it's the changing of this, and just trusting that it's less doing right now and more receiving from Gaia, that we're going to refuel, recharge, step into this higher level timeline frequency for us and our existence. How does that resonate, Ginette?
Totally. It's so where I was gonna go with it, which is great because it's on par with the messaging, which it totally is. Like the thing my guides are saying is now is the call to the non-doing. So like now, and for some people, and again, when messages come through like this in general communications like we're having, this is the general message for the majority of those listening. For some, they are going to be called into doing and accessing and whatnot. And so always trust your own instincts. If spirit is calling on you to research this and this, then that's what you need. But for the majority of people right now, one of the best things we can do in this energy is going to be the not doing, like realizing that like now is our opportunity to take a break, kind of like semester break. We have spent the semester studying, intuiting, channeling, connecting in with spirit, all of these things, cleaning up um, old stories, mending things, all of that. And it's like we've done the work, we've handed in our paper, and now is the time to give the spiritual mind and the spirit student a break.
Yeah.
Because in that break time, we actually get to like play with what we've actually learned and apply it and move through it and become it versus acquiring it, right? We
Right.
get to embody it. So there's a lot of embodiment
Which is
without
taking it further in the end, right? Like that is actually a part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like we handed in our work and now we're in a practicum. Now we're actually having to live it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think the emphasis in the cards too of like playfulness right now is so key. Um, Sometimes I think we forget to hold on to the value of the very human nature of play, joy, spending time with people, relaxing, playing in the water, putting your feet up, having funny conversations, joking about this or this. Like non-deep work is required to balance the deep work, right? And so again, with that sun energy and all of that helps amplify our integration of all those parts if we're willing to also take the rest, which is hard sometimes for a lot of really spiritually hungry people like we are. We would love to know more and more and more and gain more and gain more, but we've learned how much those times of rest help us come back the next level up and the next level up, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a big emphasis on that right now for a greater collective. And I think that's exciting that that's a collective message.
Mhm.
It's an exciting thing.
Yeah. And specifically for women, I know it's not just women that watch this, but I guess with men too, you look at the cycles too, like within our like natural cycles, we're moving into the spring and the summer, which is naturally more of the free, the playfulness, the dancing, the movement, the like being in our light versus coming in, being in that like, you know, like rest and retreat in like more of the warmth and the dark and the inside, like the habitat kind of perspective. Now it's like kick off your shoes and run in the grass and like play in the sun and plant your garden and music and run through the sprinkler or whatever the heck it looks like, right? Paddleboard or, you know, do some water sports or yeah, like there's just so much that is offered to this part of the natural cycles too, so you can like play it into that. They're reminding me too of like having some fun stepping outside with different things like food. I'm not sure why they're bringing that. If we kind of find ourselves hitting a kind of a wall with food where it's like I'm sick of cooking now, I'm sick of making meals, I'm like what else do I have? They're saying like be playful and something different with the foods that we're eating too. So if we normally have a salad every day for lunch, it's like try something different like a shake or bless you. Or like have some more fun with like a mixture, a dilly dally plate we call it, with like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know why they're giving that to me, but do you guys resonate with the food thing? Has that come up?
So I've been super uninspired with cooking lately. Like normally I love to like try new recipes and I'm just like, ugh, I don't care. I'm probably because I've been super busy, but then we're eating like garbage, people, because it's just like busyness and I'm uninspired. So just like, okay, eat that, whatever. And so we decided like, okay, you know what? We're gonna start ordering HelloFresh for a little bit to like get back into fresh, healthy foods, trying new things that I probably wouldn't try on my own, or you get that like, so we were like, okay, we're gonna commit to a month of it and then just maybe, you know, and then, so we were talking about it and I was like, I just feel like I need to be re-inspired with what we're eating. And then of course we get 3 or 4 coupons in the mail and emails about like, oh, come back to HelloFresh and you get a, you know, 7,000% off or whatever it is. So we were like, oh, perfect. And so it just kind of like lined right up and that's what we're doing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, but again, it's reconnecting to that playfulness, right? For me, I enjoy food. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy finding fresh, healthy recipes. You know, John, prior to us meeting, he like barely ate a vegetable. So like, I love finding ways to like bring in new healthier or vegan or vegetarian things that he probably wouldn't have tried before, and like
Yeah.
winning him over. So it's reconnecting to those things that like are joyful in everyday life. Because I was also going to say before we went on to the food tangent that sometimes for me, I know when I've heard these messages of like, it's playful and slow down and relax, that if that's not happening in my 3D life, I'm like, oh, I guess that doesn't apply to me. Or like, oh, well, life's really busy for me right now. So like, I guess I can't, like, that's not for me. And I just think that, as Jeanette, you were saying, like, take what resonates, right? If you're like, no, now is a go time for me and that feels really aligned for you, then like, great, follow that. And if you kind of feel like, oh, I feel a call to that, but life around me doesn't feel like it allows it, or I've got a lot going on, or we've got some big stressful things happening, finding the play and the fun within that. You know, we're talking about moving and trying to figure out if we're going to sell our house and all these things. And that's a stressful experience, or it can be a stressful experience. And we had this conversation last night. Again, I was like, I'm just not willing to be stressed about this. Like, if we list, we list. If we don't, we don't. And if we find a new place, great. And then it'll be exciting because we'll get to decorate this new home and da 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 da. Like, trying to, even in the busyness, find ways to flip the script to find joy and playfulness in the 3D busyness, right? I know for a lot of kids, it's a busy time for sports and school and competitions and all these things. So, like, where can you find the joy and connecting to outside and connecting to the sun, even in the like 3D life busyness that I feel like for a lot of people is happening right now? Doesn't mean the message isn't for you just because you can't,
Totally.
rest for a week or whatever.
Yeah. And the more that we give ourselves a little, even a tiny bit of opportunity to play in between, then the easier it is.
Yeah.
Just like anything else. Like if you're busy and you're going from one activity to the next, and you got kids in the van or whatever it is, sometimes it's like you see a playground and you're like, okay, I got 10 minutes. Like it's just that kind of day. We're going to stop and play for 5 minutes and that's it. And then we're going to go. It's like, and then just give her. Right? You know, you got 5 minutes, like I'm committing to these 5 minutes of play. Or like bubbles. Bubbles are like the best, even if you don't have kids. Blowing bubbles is one of the most magical, fun, playful thing that you can do.
Mhm.
Honestly.
Mhm. And I think it's interesting that you came up in this whole conversation because as you were talking about that, Spirit was saying how um, this information is always also coming forward to help people either recover from or recalibrate from burnout or prevent burnout. Because as a collective, everyone has been pushing forward, forging forward, creating new pathways, burning the candle at both ends, literally. And so that's why they're saying, like, seriously, listen to this in however you can and recover, recalibrate, take the rest, take the joy, take the food, because really, joy and food helps reset the physical self. And when the physical self is vibrating higher from being reset, the spiritual self can really come in and like move mountains and move, right? So it's just this beautiful opportunity, whichever way or whichever angle resonates for you, to reset. And so I think it's really wise of us to take advantage of this knowledge and really work with it and like prioritize your ability to rest, to play, to, like you said, reset your mindset and find a new way to be inspired by eating, all of that. Like there's so many ways to do it, and now really is the time.
Yeah. Like even changing routine a tiny little bit. Like if you're working and you're working from home, let's say, and you're working on something and you have to read something or submit something, would that allow you to take it outside for 10 minutes? Could you read something outside in the sun, sitting in the grass? Right? Because even when you're still doing it, but even the change in frequency from earth and sun is enough to raise your frequency higher in order to take you forward that much more. Yeah. And I know like we're going over this over and over, but it's like remind them, like bring in examples because everybody can do it.
Absolutely. So what do you have in the cards there?
Well, I keep pulling from my Beyond Lemuria card deck. I just love it so much. But what the thing, because after I was like, bring out the bubbles, I was like, why did I just Why did I just say that?
Oddly specific.
What am I talking about? And then they showed me this deck because she's like in the bubbles so much and like there's bubbles always. And then of course I pulled like bubbles in this and now I put it away because in my head I'm like, what are you talking about, Lisa? But anyway, there's something magical about bubbles and I'm just trying to bring it through because this artist that does this, like, okay, this one keeps coming up, for instance. Okay, these two. I've got, see how can you interpret this, Ginette, because you know this deck.
Yeah.
This one popped out after I was like, why did I talk about bubbles? This one, the 22 is the crystal keys, and you know how there's bubbles there, right?
Yeah.
And then I have home, and then there's bubbles all around her. So those are the two that jumped out, and then again, and then again. And so obviously they want me to bring that because that's why I was like, why did I talk about, because that was like straight spirit, right? So do you have any clarity on that?
Some of the things I could speak to on that would be home as like the reference point, and crystal keys really representing like that Gaia connection. So like everything that we're going through right now, doing this rest, recalibrating, is to recalibrate our home. And our home in this embodiment is our physical body. I was talking about this on a card pull just the other day, is that home is anywhere we are as long as we're willing to realize that.
Totally.
Right? And so when we spend time balancing out the work, the rest, the play, the joy, the food, we create that home energy where we're comfortable in our own skin. And then we realize that we don't need to be bound to one location, one place, one connection. We realize we are home anywhere and we can live from that place of joy, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the amplifications of that connection to home is Gaia, right? Our bodies are home on Gaia. So it's like home plus bigger home, right? And so I think that's the draw that we're being called to connect deeper into.
Totally. That's what it's. Be grounded. Find your home on earth. Just like a tree, the deeper our roots, the higher we can reach into the heavens. Like that's pretty cool. Hey?
Yeah.
I love that. I love when we pull it full circle like that.
You're reminding me right now too, just in speaking to just a lot of the stuff that's happening on this planet right now and how hard that is to hold as humans who care and who, you know, want the best for all beings. They were reminding me as you guys were talking about Gaia and home, and I can't remember if we talked about this in a past Spirit Coffee Talk, but I know I've chatted with like you guys just specifically about it, that there was a download I had a while ago in one of my coaching sessions with a client where we were talking about Gaia and connecting to Gaia, and she was really feeling drawn to that. It was right around the time we were kind of really getting that understanding about a month ago. Like now is the time to really connect into Gaia. And Spirit said, you have to remember that Gaia has seen it all. Gaia has been the one consistent thing since humans, however we landed here or however we evolved here or a combination of the two. Gaia is the consistent, is the one thing that has been here all along, has seen it all, has seen us evolve, has seen us devolve, have seen our consciousness grow and our minds close. Like she's experienced that all with us. And so she holds that wisdom and the wisdom to continue to evolve. Or if we feel like, oh, the stuff, you know, I know for me, sometimes the stuff that happens in the world, I have a really hard time looking at it and being like, how can I trust that things are going to be okay when like these terrible things are happening and it's breaking people's hearts, it's breaking my heart. It's that connecting back into that truth that lives in Gaia, and that she has seen those awful things before. She will probably see them again in our existence, right? Because it's always that perpetual ebb and flow of humanity and consciousness. Mm-hmm. And to just keep rooting back to her, because she can hold all of the good, but she can also take the hard things that we're carrying.
Totally. And they're just saying, ask her.
Yeah.
Try this. Ask her. Go and root your feet in and ask her to guide you to your wholeness within understanding her and how you can learn from her and how you can receive guidance and upgrades and fuel and energy from her. Like really, like when you say that, that really hit me. It was like, she's been here the whole time, right? Mm-hmm. Through the Lemurians, through the, like, we're talking like the whole time. Mm-hmm. So if you ask her for that wisdom, really root into her and ask for her guidance, that might be, even just step one of that vulnerability, of that, openness to receiving from her. Because if we say, oh, go in and connect to Gaia to receive your light and energy, people could be like, how? Right? Well, ask them, see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. It's powerful.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Maybe that's the uncertainty.
Maybe.
Right?
Well, or even the protection, right? When we're talking about like the
Totally.
challenges of the world, right? It's like, how can we protect ourselves from letting that completely tear us apart? Because it is very easy to see how that can happen, right? And it is happening for some people. And
Mm-hmm.
how can we, support ourselves through that experience?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Lovely.
Oh, well, that was nice.
That's nice.
Right.
Lovely
Well,
to have you back, Lisa. I know you were back last week, but we had a wonderful guest, and so it
Yeah.
was lovely to just spitball with you again.
It was good to get into it again. This is a nice, fun week.
yeah.
Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess we will just see what happens and we'll check back in again next week. And for all of you that are watching, thank you so much for joining us. Please do subscribe and share and like as well. Check out avalonspirit.com, you guys. If you're wanting to deepen your connection with spirit, dive in and understand your journey better. Check out the personal journey guides, as there are many different ways for you to do that. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So
Cool.
we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.